Shift gears to something that happened yesterday, actually involving you, Honorable Wahome. You actually broke down yesterday over the killing of a young man in Murang'a County. Of course, this was gang-related, but let's listen into what you said yesterday and then get your reaction.
Does it have to be this costly? Does it have to torture a child of 13, 14 years to be a man? Does it take that? It is unacceptable. It must stop. Even if it means for me to stop Parliament here and go to Kandara, we must work to ensure that no other young boy will lose his young life in this kind of circumstances.
So this was, of course, after a 15-year-old boy was found dead. He was hit several times in the head with a blunt object, and this, of course, in connection to illegal gangs that have been terrorizing youth. If they refuse to be initiated into the gang, they then pay the price with their lives. You know, extremely emotional, and it warranted, of course, that reaction from you as a leader. But what more do you think needs to be done?
Okay, let me first quickly maybe give my condolences to the family of Juliano Kanyonyo, who died in these circumstances. But what possibly is very complicated is that Juliano was one of the bright kids, because to get 376 marks in these rural schools of ours, it means that he had worked very hard. And you know, he had actually done his exams the other year, last year, but felt that he needed to do better and insisted on repeating. He had 292 and then went back and got 376. And he's obviously, the mother is a widow and very, very humble background. The things that are happening is, it's not that, this particular case, you know, he went through initiation very well, or in those circumstances, but there is a fee that is normally paid to the person who becomes the mentor, who is supposed to be a young man. But also the area is having these groups that now identify homes of young initiates, and then they kind of, they are known, but they go, but parents don't understand what is happening. Because the initiate is supposed to be isolated and secluded. So he completed the initiation. He was going through the process of healing in his isolated house or room, for that matter. But at night, the mother, these initiates are supposed to give a cock. Is it as a bribe or a token, or as there's some to be able to be accepted to the manhood club, in short. However, the mother is the one obviously supposed to give, because the young man doesn't have a cock. She produced a cock that was rejected by this team, and so she went to exchange, sold that one and looked for another one. When she came back, she did not, all this time now in the day, about 2 hours, she didn't know her son had died, had been killed at night. So you know, you can imagine this kind of idiocy occurring in these times in Kandara. Then in the same period, I have 2 other boys. Maybe that didn't come out clearly, but there are other 2 boys. One is admitted in Gaisajiro Mission Hospital. He was initiated by somebody who was, I think, a clinical officer, but was dismissed from his job. And now he's recklessly doing these things there, you know, trying to make some small money for himself, but under very unhygienic conditions, you know, back room somewhere. That's another case. And he's quite normally drunk. Normally, you know, so he will mishandle. The third case is, so that boy is recapitulating in the hospital because I think he got infection, swelling, and you know, if an initiate is swollen, sometimes they could swell, but you know, if they have the right medication, then that shouldn't happen. I don't know. I think so. Second, the third case is that the initiate also went through successful initiation. During the hearing period, some other groups again visited him. They demanded the same cock. You know, these cocks, these boys are supposed to give a cock. And the cock is not the ordinary, not just a small cock there. It's a cock that is mature by way of age. This one gave, But in the process, there were other young men who came to join the local men, and they came with the drugs, and they drugged him, gave him drugs which are used for mental illness, treatment of mental illness. I think to sedate or to create a feeling of whatever, happy feeling. Really drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, therefore, that, if you look at all those three scenarios, there is a big problem. And I am aware, and I knew that sometimes they give small tips, small whatever, but it has now become extortion. There is a demand that is not acceptable. And if then and then they are also torturing them. They are beating them, I actually asked in Parliament, and some very senior, I don't want to mention their names, very senior members of Parliament told me they were really tortured also. So this I didn't know they get tortured. They get tortured. So the point is, these cases are not acceptable. Parents are being harassed, and we have now realized it is a cartel that is using this to also demand money from parents. But also, it came out that, and had reported and complained to the CS himself, that there is resurgence of these groups of Mungiki, Usiku Sako, or the other one is 42 Brothers. I think last night I heard there is another one called F5 or Y5. Very funny names that are coming up. So they are being recruited into some cult, some terrorism groups, because if why are they torturing them, if you ask yourself? Exactly, and Honorable Kira, I mean, it's extremely concerning when you see that line between tradition and pure criminal activity. Yeah, there's no tradition there. Yeah, it's being blurred. So how do you deal with this? It goes beyond what's happening in Murang'a. This, of course, can be happening anywhere. How do you deal with that issue?
Well, we are a society in transition. We are not the old society, and we are not the new society of Christians who, if you have to go through initiation, you have to go through proper way. And now the clash of the two institutions is what is creating this confusion. But let's pass our condolences to the families of the boys who have been lost, and also to the girl that was that died because of dog bite. There was the girl that you attended the funeral, that she was bitten by a dog, and I hope. Actually, even the sister, who was a Form 4, was also bitten. We are actually treating her. Following that, again, I raised major complaint, and now they have come, they have poisoned all the dogs, Many dogs have been poisoned. They carried a whole pickup. I just saw the pickup in the social media of dogs being. I didn't say that the dogs should be killed. In fact, I thought I would imagine that they would be treated. Injection, vaccination.
To the other extreme, sanction the dogs.
Anyway, but since then they are actually vaccinating them.
In fact, that is interesting. That's the Kenyan style. That when there is a problem, you fix it, you kill it, you kill the boy, you kill the dog.
You crack down.
You crack down everything. Because I would have expected vaccination in the entire Murang'a County and other counties to be taken so that dogs also survive. So the problem is we go extreme in whatever we are doing. And I would want the government really to focus on this issue. When it starts small, remember Mungiki never started big. It can go and become a monster that society will not be able to contain. It's big. These are young people, and once they are inculcated into this behavior, it will be impossible to reverse. And it is incumbent upon the government not to look at it as a small issue, but to go, if it is a traditional way, when you are initiated, without me discussing those issues of initiation, when you are initiated, you are taken, when you are the place of seclusion, you are taken through what society expects of you. And at times it is a bit, it's like going for training as a police officer, but it is not to the extent that you are injured. That is not allowed, and the tradition doesn't allow, Christianity doesn't allow. We should not be torturing other Kenyans.
But before my answer response, you had asked, what are we doing about it? Of course, I have made the report. I'm putting a question to, I think, I have already submitted a question for the Minister of Internal Security to respond to the various issues that are coming up. And but I would also, the burial is happening on Tuesday. I will also work with my DCC, the security teams, to now get the entire while even the minister possibly will have, he knows, I don't know how they do their jobs, but I believe an MP can be able to mobilize the people, the community, to start now addressing this because they are kind of like living in fear. We will also next, going forward, identify one medical center per ward, so that then I also identify the personnel that can actually do that. But I will also I think I need to bring a bill to Parliament and require that initiation for those who want to do it under the medical
in a safe
care
manner.
In a safe place. And I believe all boys should carry out their initiation in a safe place, because the rest of the traditions can actually now be done. Because this is really a medical issue. We are talking about a reproductive organ of a young man. Why are we messing up like this? So I will bring a bill to require that it should actually be free.
Okay.
Yes.
Honorable Manzo, your take.
Yes, first and foremost about the dog bites, and I had seen that story, and health, is under the county government, and I think the case in Murang'a should be checked across the rest of the country, so that rabies, which is a very dangerous disease, and it's also very expensive to treat, that it is prevented by making sure that the vets, inject the dogs and continuously so and monitor it. That can only be done by the county governments, and not only in Murang'a but in the rest of the country, because rabies
seems like there is an outbreak.
Yes, it's an outbreak, and the moment you are bitten by a dog and you don't get proper medical attention, you cannot live more than 10 days. It is that serious. And then about the initiation, we have to have a way of, when we came with Nyumba Kumi and security systems and making sure that the public participate in a community policy, there should be a story or to evidence as to what happened to this young man who was tortured to death. Maybe in the process of being taught on how to be a man, somebody may have hit him wrongly, or there should not be violence, really. It's criminal to do that.
He was both tortured, he had a broken arm, but also was given a big blow to his head. So that was pure murder, the post-mortem report.
Yes, that's pure murder, and I believe then whoever is responsible, and I'm sure there can be sufficient evidence, should be charged, so that becomes a deterrence, so that no other young person should lose life because they are being taught how to be a man. And it's not the only torture chamber. There are quite a number. I saw one be done on television about when children are taken to, in these places where you are being helped to recover from drug taking or things like that. I believe there should not be torture, really, and whoever does it, they should do it with caution to initiate the young man to adulthood, but not torture. And we must also make sure that this idea of a bribe, or you pay a cock, you pay something to whoever is teaching. It's not, when you are not delaying in payment, is what is causing more torture to the young people. But I think there has to be a balance. It's something which we need to handle wholesomely and make sure all of us participate, so that there is no other life lost through this mechanism.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable Manzo, Honorable Wahome, and Honorable Kira, for your insights. That does it for the newspaper review.